In the 10th century, long before the rise of Moscow, a kingdom called Kievan Rus ruled the lands that would one day become Russia and Ukraine. And at its heart was one woman, Olga of Kiev, a ruler, a mother, a warrior, and unbelievably a saint. But before sainthood came vengeance. Her story is one of betrayal, fire and blood, worthy of Game of Thrones itself, the murder of a king. Our story begins with tragedy. Olga's husband, Prince Igor of Kiev, was murdered by a neighbouring tribe called the Drevlians. They killed him in brutal fashion. Some sources say he was tied to two bent trees that tore his body apart. With Igor dead, the Drevlians thought they could take control of Kievan Rus by marrying his widow. They sent ambassadors to Kiev with a proposal: marry our prince, since your son is too young to rule. Olga agreed to consider it, but in truth, she was planning one of the most legendary revenge stories in history. The first revenge. When the Drevlian ambassadors arrived, Olga had them carried through the city in their boats, a false sign of honour. Then she had a trench dug and ordered the ambassadors to be buried alive. Without revealing what she had done, she sent word to the Drevlians: "Send your most noble men to escort me, and I will accept your offer." The Drevlians, unaware of the fate of their first envoys, sent another delegation. Olga welcomed them warmly, and then had them burned alive in their bathhouse. 2 groups down, but Olga's vengeance was only beginning. The third act of vengeance. Still concealing her actions, Olga requested a funeral feast in honor of her late husband. Hosted in enemy territory, the Drevlians agreed, thinking they were cementing an alliance. At the feast, Olga played the perfect hostess. She poured drinks, toasted to peace, and waited. Once her enemies were drunk and defenseless, she and her small retinue drew their blades and slaughtered them all. And just like that, the Drevlian leadership was in ruins. The final revenge, fire and ash. But Olga wasn't finished. She marched on the Drevlian capital, the same city where her husband had been murdered. Her army crushed them in the field, but the city held out behind its walls for a year. Finally, Olga sent a message: "I will make peace with you. All I ask is a small tribute, 3 pigeons and 3 sparrows from each household." The exhausted Drevlians gladly agreed. Peace, they thought at last. But Olga had something else in mind. She ordered her soldiers to tie pieces of sulphur wrapped in cloth to each bird's leg. Then they set them on fire and released them. The birds flew home to their nests, and the city burned from within. Flames erupted from every rooftop. As the people ran screaming into the streets, Olga's army surrounded the city, killing or capturing all who tried to flee. Her vengeance was complete. The Drevlians were destroyed. Olga had avenged her husband utterly. The Saint of Kiev. You might think a woman with a history, this bloody would fade into infamy. But Olga's story takes an unexpected turn. Years later, as regent for her young son, she converted to Christianity, one of the first in her realm to do so. She travelled to Constantinople, met the Byzantine emperor, and was baptized. She then spent her life trying to convince her son and her people to convert as well. Her son refused, but her grandson, Vladimir the Great, would later fulfill her dream. Officially Christianizing the Kievan Rus, Olga was later canonized as Saint Olga, the patron saint of widows and converts. Some even call her the patron saint of vengeance. Though that's not an official title, After all, vengeance doesn't exactly fit with Christian forgiveness. Still, it's hard to separate the two sides of her legend, the saint and the avenger. Legacy and modern references. Her story endures more than 1,000 years later. In art, literature, and even modern film, like The Northman, her spirit appears again and again. A woman wronged, a ruler unbroken, a symbol of wrath and resilience. Whether you see her as a hero, a monster, or a saint, Olga of Kiev remains one of history's most fascinating figures, a Viking-born queen who burned a kingdom and built a faith. So, what do you think? Was St. Olga a visionary leader defending her people? Or a ruthless queen who took vengeance too far? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this dive into history's most legendary revenge stories, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more stories from the shadows of the past.